Hi everybody, thanks for joining Create with Dee. Today I'll share with you how I made this little flower. I'm calling it a zinnia flower because my friend Linda gave us some seeds. She gave us a lot of seeds, and so I'm in turn going to share a few with someone else. I have a video on how I made this little watering can using the Petite Purse die, but today's video is just going to focus on how I made this flower. Start out with, you need the flower builder punch, or the blossom builder punch, excuse me. And for the zinnia, we're going to use these two images, or punched out images. And for the leaf, I'm using this one. This is a great project. Flowers are a great project for using up your scraps. Those of you who have seen my scrap Ziploc organizing know that I love to save them because there's always one or two little spaces that I can still get something out of, and flowers are a great tool to do it. The trick with the blossom punch is to go ahead and cut down your paper though to the size of just the leaf that you're needing, or the blossom petal. So for example, here's old olive, and I've trimmed it down so that I can get just, one of the leaves. That way I'm not wasting all of the extra. Plus it's scrap, so we don't know how much we have. So I've gone ahead with calypso coral and punched out 10 of each of these two sizes here. I'm going to go ahead and build up my zinnia just a little more than what I show here by adding another layer or two of the smaller petals. So I'll leave this in here. For this one, I went ahead and inked around the edges using a complementary tone-on-tone, but I wanted to share in this video how if you take a random darker color, it could be in the same kind of color family, like this is in the orange, or you could definitely go outside the box of another color, and you could just see how it plays on the cardstock. I'm going to go ahead and use Cajun Craze against Calypso Coral, which you typically would not think those two colors would go together. But it really adds a depth to each of the blossom petals. Okay, so again, I'm taking my sponge dauber and really getting a defined color tone along the edge. And I'm going to do that with all of the petals, and I'll be right back. I've got all of my petals inked up with, again, Cajun Craze, and I punched out Daffodil Delight, a small leaf, and I went ahead and inked around that with Cajun Craze as well. 2 leaf images punched out with Pear Pizzazz and inked around with Old Olive. The next thing we want to do is shape our petals, and I have my paper piercer here. And what I like to do is I hang on to the little tip of the petal, and I start shaping it. Okay, so I'm just making this little arch. Okay, so I'll pick these up and we'll do each one. Making these flowers, again, are such a great way of using up scrap. My friend Sandy, what she does is when she has any scrap, she'll make a petal or punch a leaf or do whatever, and then she'll store them flat, and then that way when she wants to make a flower, she just kind of goes and picks out her color tone and her shape, and she's ready to go. So for example, on this, she's just punched extras out when she has a little bit and stores that in her orange petal little Ziploc. She uses those little jewelry Ziplocs that you can find in the hobby stores. Okay, so that's all how I'm doing it. Again, picking up the tip and just curling it outward, kind of like you're doing a curling ribbon. And I'll be back when I have those all done. For the leaves, what I do is I go ahead and still curl them, but now I'm going to take my paper piercer and kind of give that, just kind of go right down the lining. And it just kind of gives a little bit of a leaf look to it. Again, I go ahead and kind of curl it first just to break it down a little bit, but then I come back and again, be careful not to poke yourself, and do a little put the paper piercer down the center and pinch towards it. So now I have 13 of the smaller petals and 10 of the larger, and now we need a base to build it on. So I've punched out a 1-inch circle using our calypso coral, and I take my tombow, and because we need a base to build our blossoms on. And I just kind of put a little bit of tombow on the center of it just to get a nice little glue base. And I'm taking my larger petals and I'm starting to layer it. I'm going to have a 5-petal layer. Okay, so we'll put those down. So I want to kind of make like a star pattern here to begin with. And the tombow will allow us a little bit of wiggle room before it gets completely dry. So we can kind of position our flower petals a little bit. That looks pretty good. And I just take the end of my paper piercer. It'll wash off if there's any tombow that gets on it. And we'll just kind of tack it down. Okay. There we go. And I'm going to put some more tombow on it. So I like to put I keep putting tombow on each of the layers. Take my next leaf and go in between the other petals. Okay, so again, this is going to be our kind of the base of our zinnia. Throw that in here. You can tell what a difference just using that darker ink color is having on it already. So you get all sorts of different looks just depending on, what you have. If you didn't want to use your paper piercer, you could grab a toothpick as well, which is what I might do when I get to the smaller ones. It's going to be a cute flower, you guys. Build a blossom punch is just the best. So many different uses for it. Get it in there. Okay. So now I've got 13 of the smaller petals. Same thing, I'm going to go in between, make my 5-point star with the littles. And I'll be back after I have that done. So I've got my first layer of the little petals on, and I wanted to show another trick that you could go ahead and just on some scrap paper, put a dollop of tombow, and you could dip your tips of the petals in there as well. Again, so you can have another little pile of glue. I put some more tombow in the center there as well. Dip that, and I'm just going to keep building up my little petal base. I put 13 petals because that'll give me 2 rows of 5, and then allows me to have another little row of 3 before I put in the center. Okay, so again, we're just getting that in there. Use your toothpick if you need to have a little more of that. Oh, look how cute our zinnia is. Put some more tombow in the center. We want to make sure it's good and all those petals stick and have a place to go. Let's see. Just keep building it up. As you can see here how it's taking shape. As big or tall as you want your zinnia. You can keep going with more petal layers. Okay, so now I'm on my last 3. So I'm going to stagger those a little differently. Going to come in a slightly different pattern. Just kind of, making a 3-point star now. My gosh, how cute is that little zinnia? For the last one, again, I used taking our Daffodil Delight. And how I made the center is I just tucked in the corners. So it has just tucking in the corners. Way you don't have to change punches or anything. And we'll put that in the little zinnia center. Oh my goodness, you guys, look how darn cute that is. And how easy. Just punch and daub and you're all set. I would let this dry completely. Probably walk away for an hour, do something else, and make sure that that tombow is good and set, and then tuck in my leaves behind it. And we have our little zinnia flower. So I hope you enjoy making your flowers using the Builder Punch, the Blossom Builder Punch. And happy crafting, everybody. Bye-bye. Hey, everybody, I've got a little PS on our flower. As you can see that the glue is drying, and if you want to even bring up your flower a little more, you can go ahead and start kind of pinching in where we curled those petals. So that'll really start building up your flower. I forgot to give that little tip on the main video, but you can just, again, you can just kind of pick it up and move it. So I didn't want to forget to give you that little tip, and that's how you can really start to shape it as the glue is setting. Okay, now I'm done. Happy crafting!